Hi. So, as promised, I am doing a hopefully easy to follow and short video about feelings, what they are, where they come from, and why they are so important, and what you can do with them to help you in life and also how to process through them because feelings can also feel super overwhelming at times. So, first off, there is nothing wrong with feelings. We kind of are subconsciously taught in our society that like feelings are a problem. Like when kids cry or have meltdowns, we're like, no, stop, don't do that. And we're like, not, meaning to, but unintentionally teaching them that those feelings are a problem and they need to shut them down and lock them away. And that doesn't create a healthy relationship with our feelings and doesn't give us the ability to process them in a way that is beneficial to us. So, if you're an adult and you don't know how to manage your feelings, no worries. You're like pretty much everyone in the world, I think, has to learn this. So, it's great. You're in the perfect place. So, okay. So, first, nothing's wrong with feelings. And then also, where do feelings come from? What I was taught at the life coach school is that your feelings come from the thoughts you think. So when you think a thought, that thought creates a feeling. So some people don't always like totally agree with that or see how it is possible to be that way because they feel like the feeling comes first, which usually, yes, you do feel the feeling in your body first. We have so many thoughts a day. Most studies I've read said that there's anywhere from 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and it is impossible for you to be consciously aware of every single one of those thoughts that come into your head. But the way I like to think of feelings is it's like when you have a check engine light come on in your car. That check engine light tells you that something is going on inside your car. And so then you have the ability to slow down and, get it serviced, find out what it is. It's the same when we have a feeling. A feeling in our body signals us, lets us know that there's something going on inside our mind. And so if we do take that time to slow down and trace that feeling back, usually you will always be able to find the thought that's associated with it. And if not, it's not a big deal either. But if you want to practice this whole thoughts create feelings thing, then you can just like take a moment and think of something super sad. I don't want to sound like morbid or something, but like, what if you lost one of your children or like your favorite pet or your job or, something terrible? Like, take a moment and think about if that happened to you. Like, if you really think about it and envision what it would be like, I promise you will feel those emotions in your body, which is a beautiful thing that we can create feelings based on our thoughts. Because another thing we're subconsciously taught from the time we're children is that everything around us is responsible for our feelings, that we don't have the power over it. And that is super disempowering. We're told things like, oh, did that person hurt your feelings? Don't do that. You're going to hurt their feelings. Oh, you made mommy sad. This is the normal language we use in America. And it's fine. It's done in a way to teach empathy and kindness and treating people the way we want to be treated. But on the flip side, it can also leave us feeling disempowered, that we all of a sudden don't have that authority, that autonomy over our feelings, that we're just left at the mercy of everything and everyone around us to create how we feel. And that's just not true. So, thoughts create feelings, which is a great thing. Feelings are not a problem. Okay, so what is a feeling? What is an emotion? I use those words interchangeably. So the way we like to teach it is that it is a sensation. It is energy. You can feel it moving through your body. And each emotion or feeling kind of feels slightly different. So a lot of times we don't even really recognize what it is because we live in such a busy, fast-paced world that we either are pushing our feelings away or we're just going at rapid speed that we don't take the time to really sit with our emotions. So if you do, which I'm hoping we're gonna like persuade you that it's okay to sit with them by the end of this video, but you will notice that each emotion has distinct characteristics. So like if you're feeling angry, then maybe your face gets hot or red, or maybe your body clenches and tightens. My jaw clenches if I'm angry, or like my fists. Anxiety shows up differently. Anxiety might feel really fast, like buzzy electricity through your body. Your throat might feel tight, knots twisting in your stomach, might feel fluttery, things like that. Sadness might feel like super heavy, just like a thick, stuck, heavy feeling. And it could be all over in your stomach, in your throat. Maybe you feel queasy. Maybe like, I know when I'm sad, like my eyes just feel tired. Like they just feel like, oh, so tired. And so it shows up differently. And it's going to vary from person to person, but that's how those feelings feel for me usually. And when we take the time to sit with them, to allow that feeling to be in us, to recognize, oh, this is, buzzing in my body, my legs are shaking, that sort of thing, we realize, oh, this isn't that bad. Like, I can handle feeling this. It isn't going to kill me, because that's what our brains like to tell us usually whenever we feel terrible, especially if we feel something like shame, like we've done something wrong and we're a terrible person. It literally can feel like this feeling is so unbearable, like I'm not going to be able to make it through it. But as we get good practicing allowing it to be there, we realize, oh, it does feel terrible, but I can handle feeling this. And as we do that, we gain confidence in being able to feel any emotion. And it's so important to be able to feel any emotion, because we think we want to feel happy all the time. We think we want to feel good all the time, but we don't. And like I said, our thoughts create our feelings. So it's tempting to think we should just swap out any thought that makes us feel bad and replace it with a good one. But there are situations in life that feel terrible, and we have thoughts. Nobody ever calls me until I am making a video, I swear. But they can leave a message. So there are times that we don't want to thought swap our way to happiness. Like, I've lost a child. When I lost my daughter, I wanted to allow myself to be sad, to feel that. I don't want to try and thought swap my way out of those emotions. And there are terrible things that happen in the world. People are abused. Like, look at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia right now. Like, we don't want to try and make everything painted as sunshine and rainbows. There are going to be times when your child is hurting, when something happens at work that is unfair and unfortunate, when maybe your car gets rear-ended or totaled or broken into. Like, yes, you can choose how you want to feel about it, but also a huge portion of coaching is learning what to do with those emotions that don't feel good, learning how to process that pain and feel it in your body so you can move forward, because a lot of times it can keep us stuck. So some different ways that you can process those feelings in those moments that you want to keep that pain, because pain can be healing. We can get stuck in it if we don't allow ourselves to work through it. But, the 5 steps of grief, pain and suffering is in there. Like, we have to allow ourselves to complete that cycle so that we can come out on the other side of it. So some super helpful ways to process pain when you're feeling it: journaling. Journaling is super great. It uses the right and the left side of the brain and helps them work together. It allows you to work through the emotion, but you're still accessing that rational thinking side of your brain. So it's super beneficial. They use that in therapies all the time. Talking about your emotions to another person can be so edifying. Talk therapy is still one of the number one used therapies today. And you don't even have to talk to a therapist. You can just talk to a friend, someone that understands, just getting it out so that your brain isn't like this storage cabinet trying to hold it all in. Like, get it out, let it go and out into the universe. Exercise. I've just recently started exercising. And so before I'd be like, not going to do that. But when you exercise, not only are you able to kind of like reduce your stress, but it's also releasing other like mood boosting endorphins. So you're reducing your stress and, your negative feelings while also boosting feel good hormones. So yay, win-win. The two I kind of really wanted to focus on, because these are my favorite and I feel like they tie really well with coaching, and I've used them with, clients and people, and they've seen really good results with them. First is the narrator. So you just think of yourself, what does a narrator do? They describe what's going on in a story so that the audience can follow it or whatever. And so you become the narrator of your body. So if you're feeling angry, then it would look something like telling yourself out loud or in your head, I'm feeling angry right now. And then you ask yourself some questions like, where is the anger? Where is this emotion in my body? Is it in my face? And then describe it. It's in my face. It feels hot. It feels flush. Maybe I'm sweating. Maybe my jaw is tight. Maybe my shoulders are tense. Is it anywhere else in your body? You ask the questions, where is it? Is it moving? Does it have a color? I know these sound kind of funny, but like if you tune in with your body, sometimes they do have colors. Anger feels red for me. So name it. Where is it? Is it moving? And, is it hard or soft? And then you just kind of replay through that. Because if it moves, then you describe where it's moved to now. And then as you're doing that, it's almost like a form of meditation, because you're stepping outside of the emotion into your rational thinking side of your brain, and you're just, while you're describing it. And so you're instantly getting a little relief from stepping outside of the emotion while still engaging with it and recognizing it's there. And so it can be super beneficial. I've done this with people who at the end of it, the emotion of anger was gone. And that's huge. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it stays. But usually when you tap into your body and recognize it's there and allow it to be there without pushing it away, it leaves so much faster. We kind of get like stuck in this thought loop of, if I allow myself to feel sad, like I'm going to fall into this black hole of sadness and never come out. But usually what keeps us stuck in that black hole of sadness is like resisting it and pushing it away. It's like you have a beach ball and you're trying to shove it under a pool of water, and you can do that for a little bit. You can get it pretty much under there, but it is eventually going to erupt out. And that is when you react to the emotion. We think reacting is feeling. Like if someone's angry, you might think of them as like stomping around or maybe breaking something or punching the wall or yelling. Like that's not being with the emotion. That is reacting to it. To be with the emotion is to, like what we said, to describe it, allow it to be in your body however long it needs to be. And a nice little like visualization is like, pretend you have a backpack on. Like if you're just feeling sad, then you can just have a backpack of sadness that you're just going to carry around with you. It doesn't have to explode out into how you engage in the world. It doesn't have to affect how you're reacting to people. You can just carry it along with you. Same with anxiety. I can be anxious and still go and do something, and it's okay. But if you're pushing it away, an easy example that pretty much anyone can relate to is like, have you ever wanted to cry? And then you've been like, no, don't cry. I can't cry right now. And so you push it away. Doesn't that make you want to cry so much more? And then usually you cry harder and longer. than if you just allowed yourself to be with that emotion to begin with. And so that's kind of the same way. So be the narrator. I'm hitting you all with a lot of information. So pause it, take notes if you want, or just pick out what works for you and disregard the rest. Like, you don't have to remember everything I'm saying. It's a lot. Another one is I was introduced to it a couple years ago, but I never really worked with it until recently. So I am by no means an expert in this, but it's called tapping. First off, I want to say that there is an app you can download on your phone called the Tapping Solution. It seems pretty cool. I've only done a couple things on there. There is a subscription. Just click the X at the top, and there's like the basic emotions for free on there. That's all like you would need to get started. But when you tap, there's usually a script that goes along with it that is kind of like the narrator describing the emotion in your body. And then towards the end of it, it's like releasing it, and the script is letting that emotion go. So tapping, from what I've understood, like I said, I'm not an expert, but I've read that it is combining like therapy and Chinese acupressure. I also read that tapping can reduce like stress and anxiety and intense negative emotions by up to 43% after a tapping session, which is huge. What got me into this was I was talking with someone and they were super angry, and I just had the idea of like, maybe we should try tapping. And I hadn't tapped in a very long time. And so the client was open to it. And so we did it. And so after the end, I was like, hey, on a scale of 1 through 10, how angry were you at the beginning? And they said a 13. And at the end, they said a 12. On a scale of 1 through 10, they were a 12 mad. And then at the end, they were a 3 mad. And so that's huge. Like, if you can do something for 5 minutes or less and feel that drastic of a benefit, like, why not try it? So the tapping places on your body correspond with the meridians of your body. And I read when you tap them, it's like sending signals to your nervous system to like calm down and that everything's okay. And that when we get really worked up, we get put into like fight, flight, freeze mode. And so like when you're tapping these different places of your body, then you're like shutting that down. Like, okay, we don't have to be in that mode anymore. We're telling our nervous system it's okay and everything's fine. So I'm going to show you where these points are. Like I said, not an expert, but here we go. So when you start with the karate chop. So it is the bottom part of your hand right here. And you just tap it just like that. And like I said, there's usually a script with it. So this is where you would start, like if you're angry, like, I'm feeling angry right now. And you can say like, why? Like, I'm feeling angry right now because my boss is a jerk or whatever. And then you add on like how you want to be feeling. Like a popular one is like, but I love and accept myself anyway. So I'm feeling angry right now, but I love and accept myself. So then you go to the eyebrow and you start like, where your eyebrow starts right here, and you just tap right there. And then you keep describing it. All this anger in my body. I'm just making this up right now. You can say whatever you want. And then you move to like the temple right here. This hot, bubbly anger. And then under the eye. Feels like I'm going to explode. And then under the nose. All this anger inside of me. And then you typically go through it like 3 times. And on the 3rd time you start releasing. But I'm just going to show you guys for, time's sake. So we'll start that verbiage now. But allowing this anger to be inside of me. And you're doing the chin right there. And then the collarbone. So it's about 1 inch under the collarbone. You can tap like this, or you can lightly tap like that, and that stimulates it too. Letting go of all this anger inside of me. And then the next one, I might have to stand up so you can see. It's under the arm. It's about a hand's width down from right under the arm. So like right about here. Letting go of all this anger inside of me. And then the final one is the top of the head. Releasing any leftover anger now. So that was, super condensed version. Usually you go through it about 3 times, but those are the points of meridian that will send signals to your nervous system, helping you calm down. If you go through and tap those spots, like, you probably will notice, especially if you are in an elevated state of emotion, your body calming down. So, like, even if you don't have the ability to go through that whole script, I mean, obviously that wasn't a whole script, but if you don't have that ability, then you can just, like, tap your collarbone. If you're having a fight with your kids, if you're feeling stressed at work, like, it doesn't have to, people, sit like this on the desk. Just tap it a little bit, tap wherever you want. And you're going to send those signals even without the script. The script is super helpful because it's combining, that awareness in your mind of what's going on, as well as with the meridians of the body. But, they're all just tools. Use them the way they work for you. All right. So, like I said, lots of information today. I apologize. Disregard what doesn't apply to you right now. But I want to just spend a couple more minutes to tell you why feelings are so important and why it is important that we learn how to feel them, how to create the ones we want, and how to process the ones that are negative but we want to keep. So, feelings are important because they drive our actions, especially if we're not processing them and allowing them to be there. They really kind of depict how we're going to show up in the world and how we're going to behave. So if we're feeling angry and we're not allowing ourselves to be angry, our actions are going to come across very angrily, right? Like, if we're not working through it and just carrying our backpacks of leftover emotion with us, but we're pushing it away, we're not processing it, it really shows up in how we respond to people and what we do in our lives. So someone can take the same action, but if they have a different feeling motivating them, it's going to come across so differently. So if you tell your kids, like, hey, you need to clean up your room, and you've been feeling like peaceful and calm and you're fine, and you're just like, hey, this is a chore that we need done at our house, and that's kind of your thought process, then you might be like, hey, it's time to clean up your room. Go ahead and do that, or something. But if maybe you've been having a stressful day and you're like, my phone, note to self, put it on silent, right? So maybe if you're having a stressful day and you're frustrated and you've been looking at that dirty room for days and it's driving you crazy, and maybe you've told your kid a few times and they don't listen, or whatever backstory you have that's leading to that thoughts and feelings of frustration, then you might tell them, hey, you need to get that room clean. And even though it's the same verbiage, the same words, it's going to come across so differently if you're feeling peaceful or indifferent, or if you're feeling frustrated and angry. And so that's kind of why it's important to make sure we know what feelings are driving our actions and make sure they're the ones we want. Also, learning to process our feelings is super helpful because most of the time, the feelings we need to get where we want to go in life don't feel great. Like, determination doesn't feel that great. It feels better to just do what we've always done, to sit and watch Netflix, to go and eat our favorite dessert. But that's not going to get us to that next step, to that next place we're trying to go. So we have to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable and to realize that those feelings aren't really going to hurt us. And feelings are also the reasons we want or don't want anything in life. We think, like, oh, I just really want this new thing. Like, life will be so much better. But it's only because we're going to think that we're going to feel a different way when we get that. Like, if your boss praises you at work and you think, oh, if my boss just praised me more, then I would love my job. And it's not really that you need your boss to praise you more. It's because then you would probably allow yourself to think something along the lines of, oh, I'm so valued. They recognize my contribution. And then you would feel valued or appreciated. So that's something super helpful to know whenever you're really wanting something in life, especially if you're wanting someone else in your life to act or behave a certain way. Ask yourself, What would I get to think and feel if this person did this? And then you just get to decide, is that helpful or not? And to realize that you can create that feeling, because a lot of times we want, especially our spouses, to behave in a certain way so we can feel loved. And so we think if they do this thing, then we get to believe that we're loved. But to recognize I could create that feeling of being loved and knowing they love me by the way I choose to think about things without having to change them. So beneficial, because all of this puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. It takes you out of victim mode, out of being at the mercy of everyone around you, and puts you in the driver's seat and experiencing the life that you want on your terms, which I'm all about. I'm all about empowering and putting you as the hero, putting you as the, the leader, the writer of your story. So, recap. Thoughts create feelings. We don't always want to feel good. Negative emotions are not a problem. We can feel them. When we get good at feeling negative emotion, we increase our confidence. The worst thing that can happen in any situation is a negative emotion. And when you know that you can handle it, you don't have to be scared of going and trying something new because you trust in your ability to be able to feel anything that happens. Public speaking is the number one fear of Americans from, what I've Googled. And I've asked classes that I've taught, like, why do you think that is? And they said, because you might get rejected. And so I say, okay, if you get rejected by the crowd, what will you feel? And they say embarrassed. And so I said, do you see how public speaking isn't really what's scary? What's scary is the feeling of embarrassment. But if you know that you can feel embarrassment and process it in your body and still move on, then you don't have to be scared. And one of my favorite quotes is from Nishant something. But she says, when you become fearless, your life becomes limitless. And that is so good and so true. Because our fears keep us stuck. When we're scared to feel something, when we're scared to go out and try something because we might fail and feel embarrassed, then we don't expand to the person that we can be. But when you know that you can handle it and you can feel anything, you get to be whoever you want to be in any situation. I had an experience last week where I was asked to teach at a high school. And so I taught 8 classes to 8 different groups of freshmen. And my first class was really rough. I wasn't used to teaching high school kids that talk a lot. And so I was having to talk over them and I was a little nervous anyways. And I didn't end up finishing my presentation for the first group. I left there feeling so embarrassed and I had to sit with that. Luckily, I had an hour in between until my next class, so that was super beneficial. So I was able to, I didn't take the whole hour. I just did it in 5-10 minutes. But I left there and I wanted to throw up. I felt so nauseous, so sick to my stomach. I was so embarrassed that I didn't finish my presentation, having all the thoughts of I'm a loser, I'm a failure, this and that. But can you imagine how I would have shown up in that following class if I didn't clean that up, if I didn't allow myself to sit with those emotions and feel them in my body and allow them to process through me? I would have showed up a hot mess in that next class, right? And so that is the importance of knowing you can handle that emotion. I did not have the ability to just be like, nope, I'm done. I'm not going to do that. I had to work through those emotions so I could show up, because those kids in those other classes deserved me at my best, and to, present to them in a way without bringing all that garbage of embarrassment with me. So I didn't let that dictate who I was going to be in the future. I said, oh yeah, I could have done way better at that. I feel super embarrassed. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's keep going. And that's the power I want to give each one of you as you practice this. Do it in small steps. Just start noticing the feelings you're feeling in your body. Name them. We tell kids, you name it to tame it. It's the same for adults. Name the emotion. Describe where it is. Allow it to be there without pushing it away. It's super easy to push it away. We live in a busy world. You can watch TV, you can eat food, you can play on your phone. All those things like light up the pleasure centers of our brains. You don't have to rely on those. You can be confident in your ability to feel the emotion and work through it. And then you don't have to fear anything. Your life can become limitless as you become fearless to feel your emotions. Okay, that was a ton of information. If you have questions, if you want me to break it down and go into more detail on like a certain specific thing or topic that I taught about, let me know. Leave me a comment. Shoot me a message on social media or something. That was a ton. This is my longest video. I usually try and keep it shorter. I apologize. But feelings are like the secret sauce to life. Get good at your feelings and you can create anything you want. So, all right, y'all have a great day. Bye.